Hey everybody, welcome back. So if you've been watching my channel for the last few months, know I've been trying to do 1 year updates on products that I've tested and reviewed. And today's update is the Simder ARC 200S stick welder. And there's a bit of controversy surrounding this one. Project Farm, a great channel for tests and reviews and things like that, tested a bunch of little inexpensive stick welders, and this was one of them. And he gave it a big thumbs down. And because of that, Simder reached out to me and asked me if I would repost my original review of it where I liked it. And I told him that while I would not repost the original review because it's still up if anybody wants to see it, and I still think it's a good review, that I would do a 1 year update on it. Now, one thing Project Farm does that I do not do is they test things to destruction, and I do not. And I don't do it for a couple reasons. One, I don't think that's a real world use of the tool. I don't know about most of you, but I tend to stop before I destroy my tools. And it's really, in my opinion, not hard to figure out when you're destroying a tool. So I don't do it. Plus, I want to do a 1 year review. I want to be able to come back and tell you later, do I still like it? Do I still use it? And then again, there's the sheer monetary value of it. One day I might want to sell these things, as a means to help support the channel. So what happened to Project Farm, they ran these welders and they attempted to exceed their duty cycle and see if the built-in protections would keep the machine from destroying itself. And their ARC 200 failed that test. There was a big loud pop and some sparks, and it never worked again. Now, it is supposed to have built-in protection, and Simder says it does. So, you know what? Let's try that. Also, I have used this on and off for the past year since I've had it. It's mainly, and you can see how dirty it is, it's mainly sat in the back of my vehicle, and I have used it in case of emergencies, and I've probably used it a half a dozen times. For what it is, it has not let me down. Project Farm also complained that it's an ARC 200S, but it is not a 200 amp welding machine, and this is something I mentioned in my review. It is a 120 amp welding machine, and the dial goes to 200. I complained about this to Simder myself, and they told me it is a 120 amp machine, and they told me how to reset the display so it only goes to 120, so it better reflects what's actually the machine is actually doing, and not some, fairy tale setting that the manufacturer put in there. So with that being said, let's set some steel up and let's start welding. I got some 6013 and some 7018, both in 332. I can plug it into both 110, my 220 outlets out of sight. I can plug it into both of them. Let's run a bunch of beads. Let's intentionally exceed its duty cycle, and let's see if it saves itself or if it blows up like it did for Project Farm. So here is my setup. I've got this about 7-inch long chunk of quarter wall 6x6 or 5x5 pipe, not sure, but it is quarter wall. And as you can see, I've been using it for a lot of things. I have a fairly clean surface here. I've got this 6013 and this 7018, both in 332, and I've got way more of the 7018 than I do of the 6013. So let's run the 7018. I'm going to start with it running on 110. So let's get started. And I'm going to keep a pile of the used rods over here. My ground is connected directly to it. Okay, just for full disclosure, these are my settings. I'm on stick welding at 120 amps. My hot start is maxed out at 100% or 100 amps, whatever the 100 means. And my arc force is also maxed out at 100. Lift TIG doesn't matter since we're not doing lift TIG. This can TIG, but we're going to do stick at 120 with hot start and arc force set to maximum. Okay, I've got the first rod ready to go. The machine is set. It is 12:17 p.m. and let's start burning rod and we'll see where we get. We'll see how long it lasts. I may speed this up, but I'll tell you what the time is. But I want to leave the recording going so that there's no cuts in it if I can. And I'll just speed it up, and you'll see the clock when I'm done, whether it shuts off or it fails. I am on 120 volts. Let's do this thing. Oop, I better make sure I'm not on, I'm on weld and good. I wanted to make sure I was on weld and not grind. I make that mistake way too often. Not wanting to keep an arc for some reason. All right, you know what let's do? Let's go to the 6013 for the 110 volt test. See if that works out better for us. Having trouble keeping an arc despite arc force being turned all the way up. There we go, that's better. Crap, it just popped my breaker. So that just popped the 30 amp breaker, so I'm obviously not going to run this max power test on my household 120 current. Okay, so we are now plugged into a 30 amp 220 volt outlet, and let's try this test again. Seems pretty obvious to me that you're probably not going to exceed this thing's design limits. We're running on a typical 20 amp 110 volt circuit, so I'm not sure I would even be concerned about that. But let's get this test set up again. I'm going to go back and try and do the 7018 again, and let's turn it on. Let's make sure our settings are the same. 120 amps, arc force 100, and hot start at 100. All right, let's fire it up and try it again. Our current time is, we are now 12:24. Let's see if it'll run that 332 7018 better on, and that was way too hot for that 6013, by the way. Well, let's see if it'll run this 7018 any better on 220. Hey, there is rod number one. You can see that thing glowing. Sheesh, that is hot. That's rod number one. Let's do rod number two. Let's just keep going until it shuts itself off, or until I can't stand to do it anymore. Come on, Chuck, you can do it. Maybe I can't do it. There we go. That was all me, guys. That was all me. Kind of stopped earlier because I forgot to put a glove on this hand. Let me get that glove back on. Let's grab another rod and we'll keep going. Let me chip this off so I have more space. Those look pretty good. Didn't know I had it in me. Here we go with another one. How many rods should I go before I say that it's not going to fail? Maybe till I'm better at striking an arc, huh? Okay, man, that is hot. Jeez. It's 110 degrees in my garage today, and it's only getting hotter by the moment. Let's too hot to chip, really. Let's come down here to the bottom. And one down here. Well, that wasn't me. All right, I don't seem to still have a hotness there. Wasn't the ground, was it? Nope, wasn't the ground. Something is not working. Let's try a fresh rod. Something shut itself off. Oh, look. Look, the temperature light is on. It shut itself off. It overheated and shut itself off. Oh, ow! Okay, don't put that between your legs, dumbass. It shut itself off. Temperature light is on, it overheated and shut itself off. So we have no power at all there. Look, I'm right on the ground. We got nothing. So, there you go. Let's see how long it takes for it to come back on. Like I say, remember, it's 110 degrees Fahrenheit in my garage. So it's now 12:30. It went off probably around, well, 12:31. Say it went off around 12:30. We'll see how long it takes for it to come back on. Then we'll make sure it still works when it does come back on. Okay, the temperature light just went off and we have a spark again, and it is still reading 1231. So there's one other test we can do of the machine's internal circuitry, and that is what would happen if you stuck your rod and instead of doing the correct thing and breaking it off or releasing it from the stinger, you just ran away screaming like a little girl and didn't do anything. What would the machine do? Well, this machine is supposed to have some type of internal protection against that, but let's find out. There we go. We are grounded. We are 100% short circuit. And nothing. It turns itself off when you do that. We are all the way maxed out, still at 120. And as you see, nothing. It shuts the power off to it after a few seconds. Nothing comes up on the machine to show that that's what's happened, but it turns its power off after a few seconds. So that's functioning in it as well. So there you have it. There are the beads I ran, and yeah, I ran them fat and slow on purpose. This is the amount of rods that I ran with it on full power. This one went on 110 before I popped the 30 amp breaker. These were on 30 amp 220 circuit before it shut itself off from overheating. These are the beads, and yeah, it properly shut itself off due to overheat without any issues. Honestly, I think these little circuit boards inside these welding circuit boards are probably coming from one or two sources inside China, and they're going out to all these different welder manufacturers. And honestly, I think the one that went into Project Farms was probably just a lemon. I'm not saying they didn't test properly, but it obviously failed from overheat, and the overheat protection didn't shut it down. That didn't happen on mine. The overheat protection did shut it down, and everything worked the way it was supposed to. Anyway, there you have it. That is my 1 year update on the Simder ARC 200. I still use it. It still works. And will you get a good one, or will you get a lemon like Project Farm got? I cannot answer that. For their cost, I would think that if you need some emergency little welder like this, or something that's very, very small, honestly, I don't see that you're going to go wrong. If you get it and you push it to its limits and it fails, well, you know, that's just kind of the nature of the beast, isn't it? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll put an affiliate link below, at least if I can find one, I will. And I'll put a link to my other favorite things below as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks for using those links, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.